Pretty exciting day because we are going to be talking to Naomi Klein. She's the famous leftist author who wrote The Shock Doctrine, which was a critique of what she calls disaster capitalism and how crises are used to basically elites use crises to do whatever they want to do in terms of ram through agendas that they want, whether it's invade Iraq, war profiteering, or whatever. There's the subprime mortgage crisis and Great Recession with the bailouts of Wall Street, enriching people who are giant political donors, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes.
Great author, and she wrote this phenomenal book that you and I are both in the midst of reading right now called Doppelganger. To give everybody the gist of it, basically, her name is Naomi Klein. There's this woman named Naomi Wolf who's also sort of this political academic. I use the term academic very loosely.
Mm-hmm.
And Naomi Wolf has become like the bastardized right-wing conspiracy theorist version of Naomi Klein. And she had to sit there throughout the pandemic watching this person rise tremendously in prominence, go on Steve Bannon's show all the time, surpass her in terms of, I want to say recognizability, but I don't think
Clout,
that's the word.
I guess.
Clout, yeah, I guess you could say clout, right? And so it almost facilitated like an identity crisis in her where she's like, Jesus, like what is going on? Because now she would get confused all the time for Naomi Wolf, and all of her mentions would be like, I hate you, you sell out, what became of you, or the opposite, that was based when you called out the microchip in the vaccine. So really, really interesting book. I highly recommend everybody read it. We're going to be talking to her about it today. Really excited for that.
Yeah, because she uses it not just to talk about her own experience in this, but to tease out, because the other Naomi Wolf, originally started this as this like democratic liberal feminist
writer, yeah,
and then made this transition as others have made this weird transition. So she's trying to
the anti-establishment right.
She's trying to unpack what's going on there, what it says about the moment we're living in, how COVID accelerated, et cetera. So she's, the doppelganger is like the starting point, but there's a lot more about our very weird political moment that she digs into. It's
Absolutely,
a great book.
yeah.
Great book.
Now, before we get to that, though, so I don't know if you saw this yet, Crystal, but there's this new campaign ad that's going viral that Andy Beshear, the governor of Kentucky, who's running for a second term, he released this against his opponent. Have you seen this yet?
Yes.
Okay.
We watched it together, babe.
Oh, that's right. Sorry, my brain doesn't work. But anyway, you guys are going to see it, and let me tell you something. God damn, son, this is devastating. Watch.
I was raped by my stepfather after years of sexual abuse. I was 12. Anyone who believes there should be no exceptions for rape and incest could never understand what it's like to stand in my shoes. This is to you, Daniel Cameron. To tell a 12-year-old girl she must have the baby of her stepfather who raped her is unthinkable. I'm speaking out because women and girls need to have options. Daniel Cameron would give us none.
Brutal.
Okay, listen, this is one of the ways that you do politics effectively, right? What you do is you take like the most absurd and extreme position of your opponent and you hammer away on it. And that's exactly what this is. It almost reminds me of, remember when Obama was running against Mitt Romney, and he ran a very economically populist campaign in 2012.
Yeah.
And he had this ad where apparently Mitt Romney was a huge investor, like the number one investor in some company, and that company was outsourcing jobs to either Mexico or China. I don't remember the specifics. And Obama and his team went to the people who were getting laid off, these American workers, these American factory workers who were getting laid off, and they recorded a video of them talking about their experience. And they were basically like, they had us build a stage so that management could come and tell us we're losing all of our jobs. I felt like I was building my own coffin.
Yes.
I remember watching that going, damn, son, that is a devastating ad. This is the same thing.
It was part of Mitt Romney's track record while he was at Bain Capital.
Bain Capital.
That's what it was about. But
that's right.
Yeah, I mean, I used to live in Kentucky. I'm very interested in the politics there. And what is incredible to me to look at is Republicans have been destroying Democrats on abortion in that state for a long time. This is a state that actually held on to a Democratic legislature much longer than other Southern and Appalachian states. I don't think it didn't flip till after 2016, I think. And one of the issues that was relentlessly used to destroy Democrats, that Democrats would run away from, there were plenty of pro-life Democrats still in the state house, et cetera, was abortion. So now to see it be turned on its head in an instant because of the Dobbs decision is really quite extraordinary. And you'll recall Kentucky actually, I think it was last year, had a ballot initiative asking voters whether they wanted to change the state constitution and enshrine that you could that nothing in the constitution would could be construed as like protecting abortion rights or choice. And Kentucky voters took the pro-choice side on that ballot initiative. So they have in real time seen that this issue is effective, even in a state that is, very conservative, very culturally conservative, even in Kentucky. This 12-year-old, I mean, it's absolutely devastating. It's interesting, too, because so you mentioned Andy Beshear. He's already the governor there. He's one of the most popular governors in the whole country.
And it's a red state, and he's a Democratic governor.
And his opponent, Daniel Cameron, who's the current AG, is very close Mitch McConnell protege. Like, he's the person who really, brought him along, and he's, seen as a real mentor to him. So that is noteworthy as well. But Kentucky, oftentimes, because their elections are in off years, can end up being a real bellwether or canary in the coal mine for what happens at the national level. It happened in 2015 when they elected this Republican, very Trumpy, like businessman Republican named Matt Bevin, in spite of the fact the polls had the Democrat up by quite a lot. And then on election day, huge surprise, Matt Bevin ends up winning. And it could happen again this time. Right now, the current governor, Democratic Governor Andy Beshear, is up by 9 points in the polling. So he has a sizable lead according to the polls. And, I think this is just absolutely devastating.
We just had some special elections in Pennsylvania, I think, though, and elsewhere where Democrats won by quite a bit.
Yeah,
and that's continuing with the trend of all the previous special elections that we've had in modern day. Because, look, I think the biggest thing, abortion is a huge one.
Yeah.
Right? That's huge to people. Ohio, Kansas, these are red states. And they voted overwhelmingly for abortion rights.
Yes. So Democrats have outperformed by an average of 11 points in these special elections.
Unbelievably huge.
The two this week, there was one in Pennsylvania. It was in a blue district, so they were kind of expected to win. The other one was in New Hampshire. That state, the movement from R to D was like 18 points. So it was a Trump district. It's supposed to be like vote 6 points more Republican than the national average. And the Democrat, I think, ended up winning by like 12 points.
And that gets me
it wasn't close.
My second point, which is I think Trump is a big part of it too. Abortion is a big issue now for the elections, but I also think Trump is still a giant issue for the elections. And, I look at this ad from Beshear and I'm like, for the love of God, Joe Biden, can you start doing some of this type of stuff?
Yes, that's a great point.
Your opponent has 91 criminal charges and 4 indictments against him, and I've never heard Joe Biden say 91 criminal charges and 4 indictments. And because he's afraid that, like, the right already has this idea that he's behind all the indictments, bro, and if he says it, then it's even more obvious he's behind it. And it's like, who cares? It's a fact. There are 91 criminal charges and 4 indictments. People are going to hear that and go, wow, there's a lot of smoke there. Maybe there's fire there. I would bring that up. I would bring up the fact that Trump repeatedly says, I want to suspend the Constitution. I'd hammer him over the head with that. I mean, what a ridiculous thing to say in terms of modern American politics. You want to suspend the Constitution? The Republicans were supposed to be the party of Constitution humpers, and you're saying you want to suspend it. And then the other thing is, how many times has Trump come out there to try to stave off the far right on the issue of abortion, where he's like, I'm the reason Roe versus Wade was overturned. That's it. Run, quote, in ad, Donald Trump, I'm the reason Roe versus Wade was overturned. That's just like this Andy Beshear ad, right?
Yeah. Well, and I know Andy Beshear a little bit. Kentucky's a small world, especially on the Democratic political side, and very, very nice guy. But he's not like super charisma guy.
So he's like Biden.
Not him.
He's like Biden.
And so the comparison is kind of apt. I mean, he's a young guy, so there's no concerns about like his age or anything like that. He's comparatively young. But yeah, he's not going to win based on the force of his personality or like giving some, great oratory speech, whatever. And so he, in this election, it appears to have been very effective and reflected in polls where he's increasingly pulling away, it looks like, from Daniel Cameron, and very effective last time around when he initially won this seat. It was after the Red for Ed teacher strikes. He was very clear. He really stuck to bread and butter. It was teachers' pensions. It was wages. It was health insurance. It was, very material, very pocketbook. That's what enables him to get in. I think he's stuck with that model as governor. That's part of why, even in this, quote unquote, red state of Kentucky, literally has one of the highest approval ratings in the entire country. So there is a lot to learn there for sure.
And ads like this are only going to help him.
I would think so. I would definitely think so.